The reflex testing chamber stood in the center of the Galactic Military Academy like a monument to precision. For 300 years, it had measured the reaction speeds of cadets from 847 different species. The machine never lied. The machine never failed. Every species had their limits, and the chamber knew exactly what those limits were. Instructor walked through the testing facility with heavy steps. His silver scales caught the artificial light as he moved. He was one of the reptilian species that had helped found the Galactic Coalition centuries ago. Today was assessment day for the new cadets, and had seen this routine thousands of times before. The chamber itself was a perfect cube, 20 meters on each side. Its walls were lined with holographic projectors that could create any threat imaginable. The floor contained sensors so sensitive they could detect the slightest weight shift. Everything was designed to measure one thing: how fast a cadet could react when danger appeared. Looked at his data pad. The fastest recorded reaction time in history belonged to a Krill cadet from 60 years ago, 12 milliseconds from threat appearance to physical response. The Krill were creatures with compound eyes and neural systems that fired faster than most species could blink. 12 milliseconds was the gold standard. Nothing had come close since. The current class of cadets waited in the observation area, studied them with his yellow eyes. There was Wu, with blue skin and 4 arms, were known for their coordination. Wu stood calmly, his multiple hands relaxed at his sides. Next to him was Min, an Aquarian whose translucent body shifted colors based on his emotions. Right now, he glowed a nervous yellow-green. Ho towered over the others. The warrior stood 8 feet tall with skin like rough stone. His people were bred for combat, and Ho had the build to prove it. His massive arms could crush steel, and his reaction times were enhanced by generations of selective breeding. Then there was the human. Felt his secondary eyelids flicker with something close to disappointment. Earth had only joined the Galactic Coalition 5 years ago. Humans were new, untested, and from what it seen, unremarkable. Stood just under 6 feet tall with brown hair and brown eyes. He wore the standard cadet uniform that somehow looked too big on his average frame. Humans were a political addition to the coalition, nothing more. Their planet had barely mastered nuclear fusion when first contact happened. They had no natural armor, no enhanced senses, no particular physical gifts, had read the biological reports. Human neurons conducted signals at only 120 meters per second. Species like the krill operated at 400 meters per second. Simple biology meant simple limits. First candidate Wu of Prime announced. The blue-skinned cadet stepped into the chamber. The door sealed behind him with a hiss. Activated the testing sequence from the control panel. 30 holographic threats would appear over the next 2 minutes. Each threat required a physical response, a strike, a dodge, a defensive movement. The sensors would record the time between photon emission and physical action. The chamber came alive with light. Holographic enemies materialized at random positions. Wu moved with grace, his 4 arms working in perfect coordination. His reaction times were excellent, 34 milliseconds average. Nodded in approval. That was exceptional performance. Min went next. The Aquarian's body flashed bright orange when the threats appeared, but he controlled his fear well. 41 milliseconds. Solid work. Then Ho entered the chamber. The warrior moved like an avalanche, slower than the others but with devastating precision. 29 milliseconds. The best score of the day so far. Several cadets whispered in admiration. Ho emerged from the chamber with a satisfied grunt. Final candidate of Earth said. The human walked to the chamber entrance. He moved quietly without the swagger of Ho or the nervous energy of Min. He simply walked. Noticed the human's breathing was slow and controlled. Strange. Most cadets showed elevated heart rates before testing. Do you understand the procedure? Asked, more out of protocol than concern. Yes, sir, replied. His voice was calm. The chamber will generate 30 threats over 2 minutes. React as quickly as possible to each one. The machine will record your response times. Understood. Stepped inside. The door sealed, initiated the sequence, and prepared to record another unremarkable human performance. The biological data predicted reaction times in the 60 to 80 millisecond range, adequate but nothing special. The first holographic threat materialized, an armed figure appearing 3 meters in front of, expected the standard response pattern. Human eyes detect threat, visual cortex processes image, signal travels to motor cortex, muscles activate. Simple biology, simple timeline. Instead, his body was already moving. His weight shifted before the hologram fully formed. His hand struck the threat's projected weapon arm with precise force. The sensors recorded the response time. 7 milliseconds. His head jerked up from his data pad. That had to be an error. He checked the sensors. All systems showed green, functioning perfectly. The second threat appeared to his left. Again, the human moved before the hologram. 6 milliseconds. The third threat materialized behind him, spun and struck without looking. 5 milliseconds. The other cadets pressed against the observation windows. Even Ho's stone-like face showed surprise. Felt his claws tighten on the data pad. This was impossible. Human neurobiology could not produce these numbers. The chamber compensated automatically. Its programming detected the unusual performance and increased the difficulty. More threats appeared. They spawned faster in more unpredictable patterns at greater distances. The machine was designed to push every species to their limit. Accelerated with it. His movements were minimal, efficient. No wasted motion. He didn't fight the holograms. He simply neutralized them with the least effort necessary. A tap to redirect one threat, a step to avoid another. His body flowed through the chamber like water finding the easiest path. The readouts climbed steadily downward, 4 milliseconds, 3 milliseconds, 2.8 milliseconds. At the 47-second mark, warning lights appeared on his control panel. The holographic projectors were overheating. The chamber had never run at this intensity before. At 63 seconds, neutralized his 30th threat. The test was complete. But the chamber didn't stop. Its algorithms were confused. The machine kept generating threats because it couldn't accept the performance data, kept responding. The numbers kept dropping. Reached for the emergency shutdown, but before his claw touched the control, there was a sharp crack from inside the chamber. Sparks showered from the ceiling-mounted sensor array. The holographic projectors strobed wildly, flashing through random colors before going dark. Emergency lighting bathed everything in red. Stood in the center of the chamber, barely breathing hard. The comm system crackled. The human's voice came through clearly. Was that fast enough? Stared at the smoking ruin of a 300-year-old machine that had tested millions of cadets without a single malfunction. His data pad showed the final measurement before system failure. 1.9 milliseconds. Physically impossible by every known biological standard. The observation area was completely silent. The emergency crews arrived within minutes. 3 technicians in protective gear entered the chamber while stood frozen at the control panel. He had trained thousands of cadets over his career. He had seen exceptional performances, record-breaking scores, and genetic anomalies, but he had never seen a machine break from testing someone. Emerged from the chamber through the emergency exit. He looked completely calm, as if breaking a 300-year-old testing apparatus was just another Tuesday. The other cadets backed away from him slightly, their expressions ranging from awe to fear. Even Ho, the massive warrior, regarded the human with new respect. Cadet's voice came out rougher than he intended. Report to Medical Bay 7 immediately. Doctor will conduct a full examination. Yes, sir, said simply. He walked toward the exit with that same quiet confidence. No celebration, no pride, no acknowledgement that he had just done something impossible. Word spread through the academy faster than light-speed communication. By the time reached the medical bay, half the station knew about the human who broke the reflex chamber. Students whispered in corridors. Instructors checked their own data pads, reading and rereading the results. 1.9 milliseconds. The number felt like a violation of natural law. Doctor was waiting when arrived. She was her skin covered in bioluminescent patterns that glowed soft blue in the dim medical bay. Her species was known for their medical expertise and analytical minds. Right now, those analytical skills were focused entirely on the human standing before her. "Lie down on the scanning bed," she said without preamble. Her voice had the gentle firmness of someone used to dealing with nervous patients. The scanning bed hummed to life, its sensors mapping every cell in his body. Doctor watched the displays with intense concentration. She was looking for cybernetic enhancements, illegal neural augmentation, genetic modification, anything that would explain the impossible performance. The scans took 40 minutes. When they finished, Doctor reviewed the results 3 times before speaking. "You're completely baseline human," she said, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with confusion. "No enhancements, no modifications, no abnormalities of any kind." "I know," replied. "Then how did you achieve a 1.9 millisecond reaction time? Human neurons conduct signals at 120 meters per second. The physical distance from your eyes to your brain to your muscles should create a minimum delay of at least 40 milliseconds. You responded in 1.9. That's faster than your own nervous system." Sat up on the scanning bed. "May I ask a question, doctor?" "Of course." "What exactly were your machines measuring?" Doctor blinked. "Neural response time, the delay between stimulus and action." "And how did the test define stimulus?" "The moment the holographic threat became visible." Nodded slowly. "That's the problem. Your machines measured when the threat appeared, but I didn't wait for the threat to appear. I read the pattern." Before Doctor could respond, the medical bay door opened. Admiral 1 entered, his energy form flickering with urgency. The Etherian commander rarely visited the medical bay personally. His presence meant this situation had escalated beyond a simple testing anomaly. "Cadet," the Admiral said, his voice resonating without lips or vocal cords. "The Coalition Council has requested a full report on today's incident. There are some who believe you used unauthorized technology." "The scans are clear, Admiral," Doctor interjected. "He's completely organic." "Then how do you explain the results?" Stood at attention. "Permission to speak freely, sir." "Granted." The reflex chamber tests reaction time, how fast someone responds after seeing danger. But humans don't survive by reacting. We survive by predicting. Your machine showed patterns in how it generated threats. Small patterns, maybe, but patterns exist in everything. My body learned those patterns and started responding before the threats fully materialized. Admiral 1's energy form pulsed. "You're saying you anticipated the test?" "Not consciously, sir, but my eyes were tracking the holographic projectors. My ears heard the slight hum before activation. My skin felt the air pressure changes. Thousands of tiny details that my conscious mind didn't notice but my body registered. Humans evolved on a dangerous planet. We learn to read danger before it arrives." Doctor pulled up a new display. "I need to test this, Admiral, with your permission." "Proceed." She led them to a smaller training room. "I'm going to throw this ball at you. Catch it." She held up a small sphere. "Okay." Doctor threw the ball, caught it easily. "Now close your eyes." Closed his eyes. Doctor threw the ball again. His hand moved and caught it without hesitation. "Explain how you did that," she demanded. "I heard your arm move. I heard the ball cut through air. I felt the air pressure change as it got close. I didn't need to see it. Doctor's patterns flickered rapidly, but the reflex chamber is silent. The holograms don't disturb air pressure. No, but the projectors make sounds. High frequency mostly, but my ears pick them up. And the projectors have to warm up before firing. That creates a slight temperature change. Also, the chamber floor has micro variations in density. When weight shifts to activate different projectors, those variations create tiny vibrations. The room fell silent. Admiral One's energy form dimmed slightly, which indicated deep thought among Etherians. You're saying human senses are more acute than our biological surveys indicated? The Admiral asked. Not more acute, sir, more integrated. We don't have the best eyes or ears or any single sense, but we combine all our senses together. We pattern match. We predict. It's how we survived on Earth. Doctor pulled up's file on her display. Your records indicate you have combat training. Yes, doctor. I studied Taekwondo from age 6 to 18. I boxed in university. I served 2 years in the Republic of Korea Army. And what did they teach you? To read my opponent, to watch their eyes, their shoulders, their weight distribution, to know what they'll do before they do it. A punch you see coming is a punch you can avoid. The goal is to see it before it starts. Instructor Min entered the training room. The warrior was made of crystalline structures that refracted light in beautiful patterns. She was also one of the Academy's most decorated combat instructors. Admiral, permission to test the cadet myself. Her voice chimed like glass bells. Why? Because machines can be fooled, I cannot. Admiral One considered this. Very well, but this is a test only, no actual harm to the cadet. Min smiled, her crystalline face somehow conveying predatory intent. Of course, Admiral. She faced in the center of the training room. I will attack you 3 times, evade if you can. Took a ready stance, his feet shoulder-width apart, hands raised loosely. Min moved. Her crystalline body could accelerate faster than most species could perceive. She closed the distance in a blur and struck its chest. She hit empty air. Had the moment before she moved, not after, before. Min tried again, feinting left before striking right. Moved right the instant she feinted, already positioned to avoid the real attack. The third attempt was faster. Min used her full speed, moving so quickly she shattered the sound barrier in the enclosed space. The sonic boom rattled the walls. Dropped low, rolled forward, and gently tapped Min's shoulder as she overextended. Touch, he said quietly. Min stood frozen for a long moment. Then she laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Remarkable, you saw each attack before I committed to it. Your weight shifted. Your crystalline structure aligned along stress points. Your body showed me where you would strike. But I moved faster than human visual processing can track. I didn't track the movement, I tracked the preparation. Admiral One's energy form brightened. I believe I understand now. The reflex chamber measured reaction time, response after stimulus. But this human operates on anticipation time, response before stimulus. The machine was asking the wrong question. Doctor nodded slowly. Our testing protocols assumed all species react to danger. Humans predict danger. It's a completely different neurological framework. So the 1.9 millisecond reading wasn't his reaction time, the Admiral said. It was how long before the threat appeared that his body began moving. Remained silent, standing at attention. The Admiral approached him. Tell me, Cadet, are all humans capable of this? To different degrees, yes, sir. We call it instinct. The word hung in the air like a revelation. The news reached the Galactic Coalition Council within hours. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in emergency session to discuss the implications. Earth's delegate, Ambassador Park, seized the opportunity immediately. She argued for increased human integration into coalition military programs. If one human cadet could demonstrate such remarkable abilities, what could a properly trained human force accomplish? Not everyone agreed. The Al Empire's representative stood before the council chamber with barely concealed contempt. The Al were a militaristic species that had built their reputation on superior combat prowess. They viewed humans as primitive newcomers who had stumbled into the galactic community by accident rather than merit. "This is one individual," the Al representative declared. "An anomaly. Earth has contributed nothing to coalition security. Their military technology is centuries behind ours. Their biology is unremarkable. One lucky cadet does not change these facts." Ambassador Park rose to respond, but before she could speak, a new message arrived from the Al home world. It was a formal challenge issued by Captain Yang, one of their most decorated battle champions. He would travel to the Academy personally to face in sanctioned combat. If the human won, the Al Empire would support Earth's military integration. If the human lost, Earth's petition would be delayed by 50 standard years. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species called it barbaric, others saw it as a practical demonstration. Admiral 1, attending the session via holographic link, remained silent throughout the debate. When the shouting finally died down, he spoke. "I will allow the challenge, but under strict conditions. Unarmed combat only. First to incapacitation or surrender, no fatal force. The match will be supervised by Academy officials." The vote passed by a narrow margin, had 7 days to prepare. Back at the Academy, the human cadet received the news in Admiral 1's office. He stood at attention while the Admiral explained the situation. "You are not required to accept this challenge," one said carefully. "Captain Yang is a veteran of 43 military campaigns. He has cybernetic enhancements that push his reaction time to 15 milliseconds. He has 200 years of combat experience. You are a first-year cadet." "I understand, sir." "Then you also understand that he could kill you. The rules forbid fatal force, but accidents happen in combat. One solid strike from an Al warrior can shatter reinforced steel. Your human bones would be dust." Was quiet for a moment. "Sir, if I refuse, what happens to Earth's petition?" "It proceeds through normal channels, slowly, bureaucratically. Humans would eventually gain full military status, but it might take decades." "And if I accept and lose?" 50 years of delay, guaranteed." "Then I should probably win." Admiral 1's energy form flickered with something that might have been amusement. "You say that as if it's simple." "Fighting is simple, sir. It's everything else that's complicated." The Admiral dismissed him, walked back to the cadet quarters where his friends were waiting. Wu, Min, and Ho had heard about the challenge through the Academy's incredibly efficient rumor network. "This is insane," Min said, his transparent body flashing worried colors. "Captain Yang once killed a war beast with his bare hands. Ho, tell him." The massive nodded slowly. "War beasts are bred to fight. They have armor plating and poison claws. Yang tore one apart in under 30 seconds. I saw the footage." "So I'll need to be faster than 30 seconds, said. Wu stepped forward. "We want to help, all of us. I can teach you four-armed combat techniques. Min knows Aquarian fluid fighting. Ho can show you strength methods." Smiled. "I appreciate that, but adding new techniques now would slow me down. I need to be myself, just better." For the next 7 days, the Academy watched prepare. Many expected intensive training, brutal workout sessions, and endless combat drills. Instead, the human did something strange. He ran. Long, slow runs around the Academy's outer corridors. He meditated for hours in the quiet observation decks. He practiced the same basic movements he had apparently done since childhood: simple punches, simple kicks, simple steps. Doctor monitored his vitals remotely, concerned he might be overtraining. Instead, she found the opposite. His heart rate stayed calm. His stress hormones remained low. He seemed more relaxed as the days passed, not more tense. On the third day, Instructor Min found him in an empty training room. He was moving through what looked like a dance, slow, deliberate movements that flowed from one to the next without pause. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Taekwondo forms, we call them. They're like meditation in motion." "This will help you fight Captain Yang." "No, this will help me remember who I am." Min watched him complete the form. "You know you're probably going to lose." "Probably. And you're okay with that." Finish the form and turn to face her. "I'm okay with trying. Losing only matters if you don't learn from it." On the fifth day, Ambassador Park visited from Earth. She found eating dinner in the cadet mess hall, alone. "May I join you?" she asked. "Of course, Ambassador." She sat down across from him. "I want you to know that I didn't ask for this challenge. The AL issued it to embarrass us." "I know. If you lose, I'll be blamed for pushing military integration too quickly. If you're seriously injured or killed, Earth's reputation and the coalition will suffer for generations." Set down his fork. "Ambassador, why did you really come here?" She looked at him for a long moment. "To give you permission to withdraw. This isn't your burden to carry." "Yes, it is. The moment I broke that machine, it became my burden. People are watching now. Not just the Academy, but the whole galaxy. They want to see what humans can do. I can show them we don't quit, even when the odds are bad." "And if you lose?" "Then I lose, but I'll lose trying my hardest. That means something too." Ambassador Park left without another word, but saw the moisture in her eyes. On the sixth day, Captain Yang arrived at the Academy. His ship docked with enough ceremony to announce his presence to everyone on the station. He was enormous even by AL standards, 10 feet tall with scales like polished black obsidian. Cybernetic implants lined his spine, pulsing with blue energy. His eyes were enhanced with targeting systems that could track a bullet in flight. He walked through the Academy corridors with absolute confidence, his presence drawing crowds. When he passed the cadet training areas, he glanced at the human students with obvious contempt. That evening, Admiral One arranged a formal dinner for the visiting champion. It was diplomatic protocol, though everyone knew Yang would rather be anywhere else, was required to attend as the challenged party. They sat across from each other at a long table. Yang consumed massive amounts of raw meat while ate simple rice and vegetables. The AL captain studied the human like a scientist examining an interesting insect. "You are small," Yang said. His voice was deep enough to vibrate the table. "Weak, fragile. Why did you accept my challenge?" "Someone had to," replied. "Pride, glory, fame. Responsibility." Yang laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. "You think you represent your species. How noble. Tomorrow I will break you and your species will learn their place." "Maybe, but you'll have to catch me first." The AL captain's eyes narrowed. "I am enhanced. My reaction time is 15 milliseconds. My strength can bend steel. My endurance can sustain combat for hours. What do you have?" Met his gaze calmly. "A lifetime of practice at not getting hit." The dinner ended in tense silence. That night, Admiral One visited his quarters one final time. The old Etherian's energy form dimmed to a soft glow. "I have watched thousands of warriors from hundreds of worlds," he said quietly. "I have never seen anyone fight like you, but Yang is beyond a mere warrior. He is a predator perfected by technology. Why accept this challenge when you have everything to lose?" Looked out the window at the stars beyond. On Earth, there's a saying, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. We don't win by being the strongest or fastest. We win by refusing to stay down. And if you can't stand up, then someone else will. That's what humans do. We keep trying until something works." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "Your species is very young in galactic terms, but perhaps youth has its own wisdom." Perhaps, sir. Get some sleep, Cadet. Tomorrow you'll need every advantage you have. But didn't sleep much that night. He sat in meditation, breathing slowly, preparing his mind and body for what was coming, not by pushing himself harder but by becoming quieter, calmer, more centered. By the time dawn arrived, he was ready. Not to win, necessarily, but to show the galaxy what a human could do when they refused to quit. The combat arena filled beyond capacity an hour before the scheduled match. Representatives from 70 different species crowded the viewing galleries. Some came out of genuine interest. Others came to watch Earth's ambitions be crushed. The betting pools were active across the entire station, with odds heavily favoring Captain Yang at 50-1. The arena floor was a simple circle 50 meters in diameter. The surface was reinforced concrete capable of withstanding heavy weapons fire. Energy barriers surrounded the fighting area to protect spectators from stray strikes. Medical teams stood ready on all sides with equipment prepared for massive trauma injuries. Arrived early, he wore simple white training clothes without any armor or padding. His feet were bare. He walked to the arena floor alone, declining the offer of an escort. The crowd murmured when they saw him. He looked even smaller in the massive arena, a single human surrounded by thousands of alien spectators. He stood in the center and performed a deep bow to the empty arena. It was a gesture from Earth martial arts, showing respect to the space where combat would occur. Most of the alien spectators didn't understand the meaning, but something about the quiet dignity of it silenced the crowd briefly. Captain Yang entered 30 minutes later to thunderous applause from the OWL delegation. He was a spectacle designed to intimidate. His black scales gleamed like polished obsidian under the arena lights. Cybernetic implants pulsed with blue energy along his spine and limbs. He wore minimal covering, displaying his massive muscular frame. Each step he took left small cracks in the reinforced floor. He did not bow. He walked to his starting position and glared at with eyes that tracked the human's every micro-movement. Admiral One's voice echoed through the arena. This match is sanctioned under ancient galactic combat law. The rules are clear. Unarmed combat only, first to incapacitation or surrender. Fatal force is forbidden. Medical intervention will occur immediately if either fighter is unable to continue. Do both fighters understand? Yes, said quietly. I understand, Yang growled. Take your positions. They stood 30 meters apart. The arena fell absolutely silent. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy held their breath. Begin. Yang exploded forward with speed that shattered expectations. His enhanced body crossed 15 meters in under a second, the floor cracking beneath each footfall. His first strike was a straight punch aimed directly at its head with enough force to decapitate a smaller being. It hit empty air. Had already moved, not away but inward, sliding inside the owl's reach where those massive arms couldn't generate full power. He struck twice, quick jabs to nerve clusters in Yang's side. Not damaging blows, just testing strikes to see how the enhanced warrior would react. Yang spun with surprising agility for something his size. His tail whipped around in a horizontal arc capable of shattering reinforced concrete. The crowd gasped. This attack was unavoidable at such close range. Dropped flat to the floor. The tail passed overhead close enough to disturb his hair. Before Yang could recover, the human rolled away and returned to standing in one smooth motion. The owl captain's eyes widened slightly. That was the first sign of surprise he had shown. They circled each other. Yang attacked again, this time with a combination, punch, kick, elbow, strike, all flowing together with practiced precision. Each attack was fast enough to blur. Each attack was powerful enough to kill. None of them connected. Moved like water flowing around rocks. When Yang punched, the human wasn't there. When the kick came, had already shifted weight. The elbow strike found empty space. To the observers, it looked like the human was predicting the future. Instructor Min watched from the observation deck with growing fascination. She leaned toward Doctor and whispered, "He's reading Yang's body." "What do you mean?" "Watch Yang's shoulders. They dip slightly before he punches. His weight shifts backward before he kicks. His cybernetic implants pulse brighter when they're about to activate. Is seeing all of it." In the arena, Yang was growing frustrated. He increased his aggression, burning through his enhanced stamina with increasingly powerful strikes. His fists created sonic booms. His kicks left craters in the floor. The energy barriers around the arena flickered under the stress, but remained calm, centered, his breathing controlled like he was still meditating in his quarters. He didn't try to match Yang's power. He simply wasn't there when the power arrived. 2 minutes into the match, something changed. Stopped purely evading and began to counter. A strike to Yang's shoulder that numbed the entire arm. A sweep to the ankle that destroyed his balance. A palm strike to the solar plexus that emptied his lungs. None of the strikes were powerful by themselves, but they accumulated. Each one targeted a specific weakness, a gap in the enhanced armor, a nerve cluster, a joint. Yang roared in frustration and charged with abandon, no longer thinking tactically. He swung wild haymakers that could have demolished a building, moved between them like smoke, his body somehow finding the exact spaces where death wasn't waiting. At the 4-minute mark, Yang was breathing heavily. His cybernetic enhancements were overheating, steam rising from the ports along his spine. Looked like he had barely started warming up. The Owl Captain launched one final desperate attack. He leaped into the air, using his enhanced leg strength to reach incredible height, and came down with both fists aimed at where stood. The impact would have created a crater. At the last instant, Yang hit the arena floor with devastating force. Cracks spiderwebbed out from the impact point. Dust and debris filled the air. When it cleared, Yang was on one knee, his breathing ragged, his enhanced body finally reaching its limits. Stood 2 meters away, completely still, hands at his sides. The human stepped forward slowly and extended his hand. It was another Earth gesture, one of respect between fighters. "Good match," said. Yang stared at the offered hand. His pride warred with his honor. He had been defeated, completely and utterly, by a being he had considered inferior. But his expression held no mockery, no triumph, only genuine respect. Slowly, Yang reached up and gripped the human's hand, helped pull the massive owl to his feet. The arena erupted in noise, cheers, shouts, arguments in a dozen languages. But in the center of the arena, 2 warriors stood in silence. Yang spoke in his own language, a phrase that the translators rendered as, "I have learned." Admiral One's voice cut through the noise. "The match is concluded. Victory to Cadet of Earth." The Earth delegation exploded in celebration. Ambassador Park had tears streaming down her face. The OWL delegation sat in stunned silence, unable to process what they had witnessed. But the implications rippled outward immediately. Within the hour, the Coalition Council convened an emergency session. The vote on Earth's military integration petition was moved up. With the OWL Empire bound by honor to support it, the measure passed unanimously. Admiral One announced a formal review of combat training protocols across all Coalition military academies. The reflex testing chamber would be rebuilt with new parameters that accounted for anticipation-based fighting styles. Human combat instructors would be requested for cross-training programs. Recruitment centers on Earth received the news simultaneously. Within hours, lines stretched for kilometers as young humans volunteered for Coalition military service. Earth's contribution to galactic security would no longer be a political token. It would be real. But didn't celebrate. He bowed to the arena again, thanked the medical staff, and walked quietly back to his quarters. He sat in meditation for an hour, breathing slowly, letting the adrenaline fade from his system. When his friends arrived, Wu, Min, and Ho, they found him making tea. "You did it," Wu said, all four of his arms gesturing excitedly. "You actually defeated a Al champion." "We won," corrected gently, "all of us. You helped me train, you believed in me, this wasn't just my victory." Min's body glowed bright gold, his species' expression of joy. "What happens now?" "Now I go back to being a cadet. I still have 3 more years of training." "But you're famous," Ho rumbled. "The whole galaxy knows your name." Poured tea for his friends. "Fame doesn't matter. What matters is that we proved humans can contribute to the coalition. Not because we're stronger or faster or tougher than anyone else, but because we've spent our entire existence learning how to survive against things bigger and stronger than us." There was a knock at the door. Instructor Min entered, her crystalline form refracting the light beautifully. "The Admiral wants to see you," she said, "along with about 50 other senior officials who want to understand how you fight." Sighed but smiled. "I suppose tea will have to wait." As he walked toward the door, Min stopped him with a gentle touch on his shoulder. "You know what you did today, right?" she asked. "You didn't just win a fight, you changed how the entire galaxy views your species." "I know, that's the scary part." "Why scary?" "Because now humans have to live up to expectations. We have to prove today wasn't a fluke. We have to show that we belong here, not just in combat but in everything." Min smiled. "Something tells me your species will manage just fine." They walked together toward the Admiral's office, where the real work of integration would begin. 3 months after the match, the Academy looked different. Subtle changes at first, but meaningful ones. Human combat techniques appeared in advanced training courses. Instructors from a dozen species requested cross-training sessions to understand anticipation-based fighting styles. The reconstructed reflex testing chamber now had 2 modes: traditional reaction testing and predictive response testing. Found himself at the center of attention he never wanted. Cadets from species he had never heard of approached him daily, asking questions about human training methods. Senior military officials requested demonstrations. Scientists wanted to study his neurological patterns during combat. He handled it all with the same quiet patience he showed everything else, but Doctor noticed the stress building. She found him one evening in an observation deck, staring out at the stars. "You're tired," she said simply. "A little." "More than a little. Your cortisol levels are elevated. You're not sleeping enough." Smiled slightly. "Is this a medical consultation or a friendly visit?" "Both." She sat beside him. "You proved your point. You showed the galaxy what humans can do. You don't have to carry this burden alone anymore." "That's the problem, Doctor. I'm not alone anymore. There are 17 other human cadets at this academy now. Earth sent them after the match. They're all looking at me like I have answers." "Do you?" "I have what my grandfather taught me. I have what the Korean Army taught me. I have what growing up in Seoul taught me. But I don't know if that's enough to build a real training program." Doctor's bioluminescent patterns pulsed thoughtfully. "Perhaps that's exactly what makes you qualified. You don't claim to have all the answers. You just share what you know." A week later, Admiral One called to his office. The Etherian commander's energy form was brighter than usual, indicating he was pleased about something. "Cadet, I have a proposition for you. The Coalition Council has approved the creation of a new training program, cross-species combat integration. We want you to help design the curriculum." "Sir, I'm a first-year cadet. Shouldn't this be done by experienced instructors?" "The experienced instructors don't understand anticipatory combat. You do. Instructor Min has agreed to supervise, but she says the core principles need to come from you." "What exactly would this involve?" "Teaching other species how humans think during combat. Not just the physical techniques but the mental framework. How you read opponents. how you predict instead of react, how you use instinct. Was quiet for a moment. Can I ask the other human cadets to help? Of course, this should be a collaborative effort. The training program began small. Just 10 cadets from different species, meeting 3 times a week in an empty training hall. Brought the other human cadets with him, 2 veterans from different Earth nations, 3 athletes, 2 martial artists, and 10 regular people who had simply volunteered for coalition service. The first session was awkward. The alien cadets didn't understand why they were being taught by someone their own rank. A named Dong Jun spoke up. No offense, but what can you teach us that our regular instructors can't? One of the human cadets, a former Taekwondo competitor named Sung Ho, stepped forward. Watch this. He picked up a training ball and threw it at Dong Jun without warning. Thus 4 arms reacted instantly, catching the ball with one hand. Good reflexes, Sung Ho said. Now close all 4 of your eyes. Dong Jun looked skeptical, but Sung Ho threw the ball again. It bounced off the shoulder. Now watch what a human does. Sung Ho turned to, close your eyes. Closed his eyes. Sung Ho threw the ball hard. His hand moved and caught it smoothly. How? Dong Jun demanded. I heard it. I felt the air move. I knew where Sung Ho was standing, so I knew the approximate trajectory. My body filled in the rest. Another human cadet, Young, a former military medic, spoke up. Humans survive by using all our senses together. We don't have the best eyes, ears, or any single sense, but we combine everything. We pattern match. We predict. That's what we're here to teach you. Over the following weeks, the program grew. What started as 10 cadets became 20, then 50. Species that had never considered cross-training suddenly wanted to understand this human approach to combat. The lessons weren't about physical techniques, though those were included. They were about awareness, how to read an opponent's body language, how to notice environmental details, how to trust the feeling that something was wrong before confirming what was wrong. Brought in concepts from Earth's various martial arts traditions. Korean Taekwondo's emphasis on anticipation and distance management. Japanese Aikido's principle of moving with an opponent's energy rather than against it. Filipino Kali's focus on reading weapons before they struck. Chinese Tai Kai's teaching about sensing pressure and balance. But he also brought in non-martial concepts. How soul pedestrians navigate crowded streets by predicting where people will move. How drivers anticipate traffic flow. How athletes read plays before they develop. The core principle was the same. Humans survive by predicting, not just reacting. Instructor Min observed every session, her crystalline form refracting light as she took detailed notes. After one particularly successful class where a cadet managed to dodge a surprise attack using purely auditory cues, she approached. You're a natural teacher, she said. I'm just sharing what I know. That's what teaching is. You're giving these cadets tools their own species never developed because they never needed them. Fast reflexes, strong armor, natural weapons. These advantages meant they never had to predict. You're showing them a completely different way to approach combat. Is that good? It's revolutionary. Do you know what Admiral One told me yesterday? Injury rates in training exercises have dropped 30% since your program started. Cadets are avoiding damage instead of absorbing it. You're making the entire academy safer. 6 months after the match with Captain Yang, something unexpected happened. The Al Empire sent a delegation to the academy. Leading it was Yang himself. The station buzzed with nervous energy. Many feared the Al had come seeking revenge or to challenge the match results. Instead, Yang requested a private meeting with. They met in a small conference room. The massive Al warrior sat across from the human who had defeated him. Yang's cybernetic implants had been upgraded, but his eyes showed something different than before. Humility, perhaps. I have spent these months reviewing our match, Yang said without preamble. "Studying every movement, I have learned things." "What did you learn?" asked. "That I fought you like you were another owl. Big, strong, enhanced. I expected you to match power with power, but you never tried to be stronger than me. You were something else entirely. I was faster where it mattered, in prediction, not reaction. Yes, and this is why I have come. The Owl Empire wishes to send warriors to study at this academy, to learn these human methods, if you will teach us." Was quiet for a long moment. "You understand that our methods might not work the same for Owl. Our biology is different. But the principles are not. Prediction over reaction, awareness over strength. These are concepts, not biology. We can learn concepts." "Then you're welcome in the training program, same as any other student." Yang stood and bowed, a gesture he had learned from watching. "You have my gratitude." By the end of the academic year, the cross-species combat integration program had become mandatory for all second-year cadets. Was offered a position as assistant instructor, though he remained officially a cadet. The academy began recruiting more human instructors from Earth, bringing in experts from various martial arts disciplines, military backgrounds, and even civilian fields like sports psychology and behavioral analysis. The reflex testing chamber evolved. The new version still measured pure reaction time, but it also evaluated predictive ability, environmental awareness, and threat assessment before stimulus. The records board now listed achievements in multiple categories. Humans dominated the predictive categories, while species like the krill still held reaction time records. Both were recognized as valuable skills. 5 years after Broke the original machine, he graduated from the academy with honors. He was immediately offered multiple positions: instructor, combat specialist, diplomatic liaison. He chose to become a field training officer, working with mixed-species units to improve their coordination. On his final day as a cadet, he returned to the observation deck where he had first spoken with Doctor about the burden of fame. Admiral One found him there. The old Etherian's energy form had dimmed slightly with age, but his voice remained strong. "I have watched many students pass through this academy," One said. "Few leave the kind of legacy you have. I just shared what I knew. You did more than that. You changed how the entire coalition approaches combat training. You proved that newer species can contribute unique perspectives. You showed that strength comes in many forms." And broke an expensive testing machine. One's energy form flickered with amusement. "Yes, that too, though I suspect that machine needed breaking. It represented limits we had accepted without questioning them." They stood in silence for a moment, looking out at the stars. "What will you do now?" One asked. "Keep learning, keep teaching. There's a transport leaving for the frontier next week. They need someone to help train mixed-species units in combat coordination. It sounds interesting." "It sounds dangerous." "Probably, but someone has to do it." One's form brightened. "I suspect your grandfather would be proud." "I hope so, sir." As walked away from the observation deck for the last time as a cadet, he passed the newly rebuilt reflex testing chamber. A group of first-year cadets waited outside, nervous about their assessments. Among them was a young human woman named Bora, barely 19, looking terrified. "Stop beside her, first time." "Yes, sir, I'm worried I won't do well." "Don't worry about doing well. Just do what feels natural. Trust your instincts. They're better than you think." "Really?" "Really? Remember, you're not trying to react faster than the machine. You're trying to see what's coming before it arrives. That's what humans do best." Bora nodded, looking slightly more confident. As left the academy for his new assignment, he thought about all the young humans who would follow. They would face their own challenges, prove their own worth, break their own machines. Not because they were stronger or faster or tougher than anyone else in the galaxy, but because they had learned something valuable growing up on a dangerous little planet at the edge of the galaxy. Survival didn't mean being the biggest predator. It meant being smart enough to see the predator coming and moving before it struck. The galaxy was vast and filled with species that had advantages humans lacked, but humans brought something unique to the coalition. Not superiority, but diversity of approach. Not dominance, but adaptation. Somewhere in the Academy archives, a recording still played on repeat, required viewing for all new cadets. A human in a sealed chamber, moving like water through threats, the readouts climbing toward impossible numbers. And at the end, that simple question that had started everything. Was that fast enough? The galaxy's answer had evolved over the years. Not yes or no, but something better. Show us what else you can do. And humans, being human, kept showing them.